to the vestry does is begin to meet the goal that we had to expand the size of our vestry. During the leaner years here at St. Bart's, the vestry reduced in size, and now that our congregation has expanded, we can expand our role of leadership to share the burden of leadership and the responsibility. And being on vestry is also a great way to grow and deepen in your own Christian faith and life as you exercise the ministry of leadership in the community. So we're grateful to these four and to those who are continuing on as vestry. And I would like to you all to affirm this slate by affirmation. So if you approve, hoop, holler, clap your hands, whatever it is you like to do. Thank you all for your willingness to serve, and I look forward to meeting with you once a month from now until forever.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, I'm just going to make a couple of comments to you all as the Rector's address. So we're now to the top of the agenda. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right. So last year at the annual meeting, I gave you a scripture verse that I was thinking about for St. Bart's for the year. And it was, "Fear not, little flock, for it's your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." St. Bart's had stepped out in faith and courage to call a full-time rector that realistically you could not afford, right? And made a choice to use endowment resources in order to call a rector for the purpose of turning the congregation around and growing and taking the good spirit that you all had here and had nurtured here and bringing it into a fuller flower. And I'm really glad that you all did that. As Ron noted, we adopted a budget last year that anticipated that we would run $106,000 over what we brought in income. And we came in at the end of the year running $60,000 over what we came in. So we did much better than we planned. And this year I'm asking you to affirm a budget that similarly anticipates running over, but I also anticipate doing much better than we planned. So I want to put in front of you realistic numbers, but I also want to tell you that I believe we can do better than the numbers we've put before you based on the growth and trajectory we have. But I don't want to count money that's not here yet. I don't want to anticipate gifts that haven't happened, even though I have faith that the congregation will continue to grow and that God will continue to provide and that this year will be even better than last year. And that is because of who we are as a congregation. So you guys had that fear not spirit and stepped out, and we've started a number of programs this year. We've done all kinds of new things, and it has borne fruit. So my verse for you this year is Psalm 52:8. It's one of my favorite verses from the Psalms. "I am like a green olive tree in the house of God. I trust in the mercy of God forever and ever." We've talked a lot about growth, and growth is important. But growth requires deepening as well. And how does an olive tree flourish in a dry place? Because it puts down roots. So even as we continue to focus on growth at St. Bartholomew's and inviting new people and bringing people in, I also want this year to have a particular focus on depth. I want those of you who are here to put roots down in St. Bart's and to deepen in your Christian faith and in your spirituality, and let St. Bart's be a place that nourishes you, to bring you to that full flower of faith and life that God longs for you to have. Green olive trees in the house of God. That's who we're called to be, and that's the theme in front of you for this year. The ways in which we do that are some of the things that we've already started and more things that we'll continue to add. Bible studies, both in person and on Zoom, have happened throughout the year, and we will continue to offer those. Those of you who participated in some of those programs, if you've been to an online Bible study or the Tuesday morning Bible study, will you raise your hand? Lots of you, right? Lots of you. Have those programs been helpful to you in thinking about your faith and in questioning and wrestling with your faith?
Yes.
Yes. That is the heart of what we do, right? We are a Christian community. This is our sacred text, and engaging this text with wisdom and with responsibility is one of the main reasons we're here, so that we can grow and deepen in the faith. We've also had a number of potluck programs, including deanery potlucks, where we heard from our bishop. We had potlucks that included special Bible studies for Advent. We're about to roll into a Lenten potluck study, and we've had them before. These are great opportunities to grow in depth, both as a community, because we break bread with one another, and grow in depth in our spirituality as we engage in reflecting on ideas that we might not always have in front of us in our day-to-day. We intentionally take the time to engage spiritual material so that we can grow deeper and grow richer in our faith. We also will this year continue to engage in diocesan opportunities for learning and service. I've shared on our Facebook page, and you'll hear more about it. The bishop has begun a conference called the Water and the Word Conference at Dayspring, to which all are invited to attend, which includes learning and study and community reflection for that growth in faith that we're working on together. St. Bartholomew's exists as part of a larger church, and being aware and connected to the larger church can only help us grow. We are part of a larger organization. And that also includes deanery participation. In the past year, we have shared ministries with St. Vincent's, with the Cathedral, with St. Augustine's for an evensong, and any number of other things. The church is not in competition with our neighboring churches. We are in teamwork with our neighboring churches. And I love seeing things where St. Bartholomew's can go over to St. Vincent's and we can do the blessing of the animals, and St. Vincent's is delighted and St. Bart's is delighted, where the Cathedral can come here and be part of us as we do an Advent Bible study. We ought to share in the joy of each other's churches and help each other's churches to grow and deepen and share resources, especially in a day when many of our congregations are small. Other churches do some things better than we can, and it is awesome to partner with them on those things so that we can all benefit from one another's gifts. I also told you last year that one of the spiritual principles I think that should govern us is gratitude. And your senior warden already spoke about that, but I'd like to call out a couple of things that I'm particularly grateful for this year, and that I think help us in that deepening, and also remind us that the way we grow and move forward and deepen is through each other's toil. Right? We have a collect at Compline that tells us to always remember that our life depends upon each other's toil, and that's very true in the life of a congregation. I'd like to thank particularly Dana Green for getting the parish nursing, faith-based nursing program off the ground. Many of you have come to her for blood pressure checks. She's been a great resource to me for a number of pastoral situations that have come up that involved some medical diagnoses that I needed some insight on, as well as just generally creating an atmosphere in the congregation that health and wellness is part of the whole person, including body, mind, and spirit. And so I'm thrilled that we have this program at St. Bartholomew's and for Dana's willingness to execute it. So thank you, Dana. The Altar Guild tirelessly works to keep the church beautiful and our services going forward. And sometimes they have to use a special sense of that I didn't know altar guilds had, but that is of reading my mind about what services are happening and what I'm going to need. And I'm particularly grateful to the Altar Guild for all their work. The beautiful vestments that we have, the silver and the polishing, all of this takes place in this little room behind the scenes over here. And the folks who serve in that ministry are, they remind me of the Levites from the Old Testament, whose responsibility was for the vessels of the temple. And that it is a beautiful and special ministry of service. And it is a humble one, because it's so much behind the scenes. And I want you all to know who serve in this ministry that I am exceptionally grateful to you for your work. And in this past year, due to some special donations that we received from a few folks, we have been able to buy new sets of vestments that all match this style, which is the kind of classic Episcopal frontal style. We now have these frontals in green and in purple and in red. So eventually I'd like to have the full color set in this classic pattern, which fits St. Bart's so well. And the Altar Guild worked very, very hard to make this possible, including doing a lot of measuring and a lot of ordering and a lot of arguing online with CM Almy And I was delighted that there was an ordination at the cathedral not too long ago, and their red set is in bad shape. And the bishop reached out and said, Ethan, I saw that you guys have a beautiful new red chasuble. Can I borrow it for the ordination of the cathedral? And it is wonderful as St. Bart's to be able to be helpful in that way, right? It's so exciting. So thank you to the Altar Guild. The coffee hour hosts work very, very hard to put on a time of refreshment for everyone. And it is, I think, one of the special marks of this congregation in particular, the way in which we gather for coffee hour and enjoy each other's company over coffee and refreshments. It is noted that we closed the thrift shop for that purpose, and man, have we used that building. And it takes a lot of work, a lot of it is behind the scenes work, and there is always opportunity for more people to get involved in that. So in order to continue to expand that ministry and to show gratitude to those who held it up for so long, we've decided to split the responsibilities on Sunday morning between those who bring in food and those who clean up. So when you go into the parish hall, you'll see a sign-up sheet that invites you to sign up to bring some food, or it invites you to stay after and help do some dishes. It's a great way to participate, and don't feel that you have to sign up all the time, but if once in a while you could pick one of those slots and help out, it's wonderful. It's good for you, it's good for us, and being in service together is another one of those ways where we get to know each other and grow deeper together. Some of the best conversations I've ever had with people are around a kitchen sink doing dishes, right? That is where we get to talk to each other in ways we might not otherwise do. So I invite you to consider that, and thank you to all the folks who have worked so hard to make that happen. Larry and Jerry have already been thanked, but I want to thank you again for your work as buildings and grounds. We have a historic church with historic sprinklers and historic light bulbs and historic toilets. And it takes a lot of work to keep that going, and I'm particularly grateful to the two of you and to all those who have pitched in to do things like pull weeds out of the garden, and Clint, who's in the back, who comes week by week to walk around the campus and clean up trash, because many folks pass through our campus and leave things behind. It is a labor of love, and it's been a long time commitment that Jerry has had to this church, and I'm very, very grateful, because we need to keep that house of the Lord in good shape so that it continues to be here for all who come to seek healing and hospitality and hope. The vestry. I want to thank you all for your service, particularly in this first year, coming to know me and my way of doing things and my sometimes disorganized way of calling meetings into session. I appreciate you for bearing with me, and also for being a vestry that has a generosity of spirit and a courage to try when maybe anxiety might sometimes get the better of us, because we have stepped out in faith and worked together this year to create the conditions for the possibility of this growth that we've experienced. I'd like to thank Deacon Bruce, who has joined us, and you will be hearing more and more from Deacon Bruce as the year goes on, including initiating a pastoral visiting program. I know you have had pastoral visitors in the past, lay folks who feel a call to be able to take communion or go for pastoral visits to people's homes, but we'd like to bring that back in a more formal way. And Deacon Bruce will be leading that. And he'll also be leading us in developing some ministries of outreach. And we have a few places identified that we'd like to partner with. And you'll be hearing more from Bruce over the course of the year. I want to give a special thank you to Charles Janes, who made a gift to St. Bart's this year for the purpose of starting an outreach endowment. Many times churches will find that their immediate needs, their intense needs as a congregation, like for buildings and grounds, become so much that they neglect to remember how to do for others. And sometimes it is doing for others that gets cut when we have our own deep needs. And so by establishing a fund that is restricted to outreach, we have the opportunity to take the income that is generated by that fund's investments every year and have them particularly directed to outreach needs. The fund is small right now, $35,000, but there is a way for you to give to that particularly if you feel that on your heart you'd like to add to the principle of that fund so that it grows over time, there is a drop-down box on the website where you can give to the Charles Janes Outreach Fund. But the purpose of this is that so in perpetuity, St. Bartholomew's Episcopal Church will always remember those who have less, those who are suffering, those who are in need. No matter what is in front of us for our own immediate needs, we will always have care and concern for others as something that we must attend to, because the fund is restricted for that use and cannot be used in another way. And I'm very, very grateful for Charles getting us started on that. Flower ministry is another one of those places where you see the fruits of the ministry but don't always know what happens behind the scenes. And I'd like to thank those who are involved in that ministry. Some of you are here. I know some of our Flower Guild people are not here this morning. But it is absolutely a wonderful part of our worship together to have these beautiful flowers. I'd also like to thank the staff. Travis on music has begun to pull together an amazing music program here at St. Bart's. In fact, we had a visitor today who's the local head of the American Guild of Organists chapter, came to check out what Travis is doing, and there may be some opportunities for us to do things with the American Guild of Organists here at St. Bartholomew's. Music is what Christians do when they get together, right? When Christians get together, they sing, which is one of the reasons why COVID, with all of its restrictions, was so devastating to groups of faith. And I am grateful that we have this wonderful ministry of singing praise to God here. Thank you, Travis. I'd like to thank Liz Curry, who also is very familiar with my disorganization and my late remembering of things, and is always willing and able to help put things together that need to be put together. And of course, she keeps our books, and she's been on a big learning curve this year as we've changed the software that we use for accounting to a program called Realm. And it's been a lot of work for her, and she is a half-time person, and we share her with other churches. So it's kind of behind the scenes faithfulness and diligence for the life of the church, for which we're very grateful. And Josiris is not here today because she is taking the weekend off to potty train Vivi. Locked in on that important ministry this weekend. But you guys have seen the ministry that has started to come out of that Sunday school room, right? And Josiris is on staff with us doing that. And we're really grateful to her for that. And to Sandy Sumner, who steps in and helps close the gaps when we need a little extra pair of hands, like she's doing right now. So we're very grateful for that as well. We've made a number of improvements in the budget process this year. In the past, the parish has often had to make decisions about spending money on a very ad hoc basis. The vestry would be polled or called together to make spending decisions, and we're trying to really regularize the budget process and make the budget more reflective of what actually happens. It's still in process. We're still working on that. But the budget, I think, this year more accurately reflects what actually happens at the congregation than it did last year, and I hope that that trend continues. Now, for the bad news. Larry mentioned to you that we need an air conditioner and a roof. The AC unit, we've been functioning on one half of an AC unit in this building for some time, and it is not adequate to our needs. And even more pivotally than that, we have a roof that must be replaced before hurricane season. If we are to be true to our stewardship of this building, we absolutely must replace the roof. I am reluctant always to ask for capital funds when we are using our endowment in the way we are, but I have no choice this year. The roof simply must be replaced. I met with the junior and senior warden and Jerry Knight this past week, and we agreed that the ask to the congregation is open-ended. The expenses we anticipate for the roof and the AC will be about $150,000. We got a number of quotes on the roof, and they have varied in ranges. We got one outlier at $200,000, and that was the first one that came in, and I almost had a heart attack and spent many sleepless nights. But since then, we've gotten a number of quotes that are in the $80,000 to $100,000 range. And of course, when they get in there, we may find some problems with the wood and so on. And the replacement of the air conditioning unit is probably around $35,000. I have done some soft fundraising on this already, and I have pledged to this particular project from just a handful of people $50,000. Whatever the congregation can offer on this roof fund, I appreciate, and the difference we will finance through the diocese. I've spoken to Mike Bohr at the diocese, and the diocese will give us very favorable loan terms, 2 3/4%, and we can pay the loan back over 10 or 15 years. I'm hoping that we will need to only borrow $50,000 or so, and but whatever we need to borrow, we will, because these things simply have to be done, and I do not want to take it from the endowment. Our endowment is already strained, and I think it is much better for us to service debt for a little while and continue to balance our budget than it is to simply pay for this out of the endowment. And so in the budget that you received, there's a debt service line of $10,000 a year that I put in there as an anticipated expense. The more we're able to raise from the congregation, the less our debt service will be. But I understand that I've already asked you for your annual contributions and your pledges. This is a special ask. I appreciate what you give, but do not feel compelled or pressured to give in a way that is not comfortable for you or that is beyond your means. We will figure this out. But if you happen to have an extra $50 or $100 or $50,000, we will put it to good use. In the budget, a number of expenses increased, and I just want to highlight 2 of them. Our property insurance line has gone up by something like $17,000. That's a line over which we have no control. We are given the price from Church Insurance Company, and we simply must pay it. We looked at some options for excluding some of our buildings from being insured, and the savings were not worth the increased liability that we faced from that, especially since one of our main sources of income are those 2 other buildings where the daycare is. We simply have to insure them, and that cost has raised significantly. And the vestry also voted to adjust my salary to reflect more closely the diocesan norms for a rector. And that it was, again, a little bit of a stretch that I'm very, very grateful for, but it does put St. Bart's in line with other congregations in the diocese. We are on the path to becoming a normal, healthy congregation that can pay its bills, that has a good budget, and that has a vibrant, vital ministry. And I am very, very excited and grateful to you all for that. And going forward, I just want to call to your mind that second half of the psalm that I mentioned. I am a green olive tree in the house of God. I trust in the mercy of God forever and ever. And I invite you all to have that spirit of trust in the mercy of God to be at the core of your beings as we go through this next year. I want to highlight for you one really great piece of good news. In our last year's parochial report, so every year we turn in a parochial report that gives the data on the preceding year. So last year, the parochial report that we sent in to the diocese and that goes to the national church tracks every congregation's average Sunday attendance, which is the principal metric for size and health of a congregation. Last year, the parochial reports we sent in said that St. Bartholomew's average Sunday attendance was 22. This year's parochial report that we will send in says that St. Bartholomew's average Sunday attendance is 66. And that includes some very low Sundays from towards the beginning of the year. We are in the 70s and 80s really now in our worship together. But we tripled in size last year. Tripled. And I have every reason to believe that we can continue to grow and flourish as a congregation. I trust that you will continue to proclaim the gospel to your friends and neighbors and those around you, and that the doors of St. Bartholomew's will be open all year and will be open for many, many years to come. God bless you.
Thank you.